Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine with Nick Beres.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. I'm Nick Beres. Hope you had a good weekend. How could you not? If you live in this area here, the weather was spectacular this weekend. Just beautiful out there after so much of the rain that we had. What a mess that was. Looks like more's coming our way. But anyway, hope you had a good weekend. Glad you're joining us on the big show this morning. We're going to be talking about your pets. If you have questions or comments about your dog, cat, whatever kind of animal you might have, there's a better than average chance that you can't stump our guest, veterinarian extraordinaire Allison Fields.
Good morning.
We're not out to stump you, but you know what? You do know your stuff. Over the years, I've learned quite a bit from this woman. She continues to try to straighten me out on some of the misconceptions I have and things that I do
always work.
that don't always go. She works me. You work me.
I do.
But you and I go way back.
We do.
It's just so nice. It's so nice to see you. Well, listen, we'll open up the phone line, 737-7587. I didn't know, it's crazy with all the rain that we have. She was just showing me some property she has that had been flooded over the weekend and the like. And
down in Perry County.
In Perry County, and a lot of places dealt with it. I'm just curious, you know, when it gets like this sometimes, you get dogs, cats, sometimes they get frightened, they take off, they get stranded in the floodwaters and things like that. I mean, is there anything that goes with the flooding that you guys deal with as veterinarians that you've seen that come in just with regard to animals? Not bad.
Large animal that's, there was a cow floating down the Buffalo River.
We saw a video of cows in some of the riverways.
and it was deceased, and so it probably, got caught up and drowned. But you have farmers who have all these cows, and if they're close enough to a river or waterway, their fields can flood, which the cows can get up out of it. But then after that, you have just this muck, and it's so deep, and so then you can have hoof problems and things like that. So there are kind of after the flood things that can happen with feet. And I felt so bad. We drove past one of our neighbors' fields that wasn't a field. I mean, it was a lake. Yeah. And when we drove out yesterday, all the water was gone, and all of his hay bales had been ruined. So like he had, bales of hay ready to go,
collected up,
and they were, everything, and so they were just ruined.
Floods, devastating. There's all kinds of natural disasters. To me, for the worst damage, flooding is tops of the scale. Above a tornado, above a hurricane. It's and oftentimes floods come with those. But
and I think typically floods affect a larger number of people.
Yep, and the cleanup is just devastating.
Fortunately, it was just our basement. We're good.
Good. Well, I'm glad it was all right. I just had to ask that because the weather was an issue. This weekend sure was beautiful. Lots of things to talk about. I don't know if there's anything that you want to, beginning of the show, just jump out there, things that you've seen, or any words of warning to folks.
Daffodils are up, trees are blooming. What does that mean?
No, bugs.
What kind of bugs?
Our favorites, the ticks and the fleas. And,
so it is time to start. If you don't do flea and tick prevention all year round, you don't do it in the winter, it is time to start. Make it happen. Get it on them now. Yeah, get going now. Because, do it before they get bad.
Yeah, and it's going to, I don't know. And this was a colder winter, I think, than the year before. Last year was rough for bugs. It's going to be tough. Ticks. Yeah, we've already seen them. So get that going. Wanted to ask you, I've done several stories on this, and I keep getting emails. A lot of folks throughout the state of Tennessee and frankly across the country are reporting, dogs disappearing, dog thefts. They think, I know in a couple of counties here that I've done stories on, they believe there are folks that are actually stealing them and either trying to turn around and sell them, get them back to the owners for the reward money, whatever it is. Gosh forbid you hear sometimes could they be used as bait dogs or dog fighting. That's less something that happens. But can you tell, and there's been a dog fighting ring. There was a dog fighting ring they think they broke up in Humphreys County where they tipped off the individual somehow, someone did, before the cops were able to get there, and about 60 of the dogs were removed before they could get there. They ended up rescuing about 20. Can you tell, have you seen any dogs that have ever come in that you suspect were involved in dog fighting?
Yeah. And, they typically have scars all over them. Okay,
makes sense. And whether or not scars, are there, if it was a dog that was trained to dog fight, are there certain things?
Those don't come.
They don't, obviously. They're not, but you'd be able to tell, wouldn't you?
So, well, I have seen dogs. I have seen probably 2 or 3 dogs that had their ears cropped by the owners. Do you know what pinking shears are? Your grandmother had a pair, and they were the scissors that went ding, 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 ding. They're a pair of scissors that cut like on these little zigzags.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, done with those.
And the idea of that is that's less for a fighting dog to have something grab onto, or just horrible stuff. Well, I mean, and the thing about people with their pets disappearing, you know, what do we do about it? Now, you can chip your animals, but that's not a GPS. That's not going to help.
Right.
I mean, the only other thing you can do is
don't let your pets
don't let them. Obviously, don't let them stray. But these are folks who have had them snatched out of their yards.
Typically, those are yards that don't have a fence,
right,
or have an electric fence.
Yeah. And so the solution is, you get a fence, you put them in an area, or you keep an eye on them at all times.
I'm not a big fan of electric fences for many reasons. I mean, the one reason is it's aesthetically pleasing. That's great.
Right.
And it keeps your dog in the yard. That's great. But it does not keep out other animals.
Right.
It doesn't keep out people. If the electricity goes out, it doesn't keep your dog in. So I'm not a huge fan of them for the dangers that can come into your yard.
Right.
I think they're great that they can keep your dog in the yard.
We've used electric fences with us. You know, we have such a wide property, but you don't believe electric fences are cruel, do you?
I think that electric fences have their place, and I think if you're willing to shock yourself with the collar, go for it. You know, I think I think it says that, you know, try it on yourself.
Said it, and I said it. The thing is, you're not going around shocking your animal. The animal needs to get shocked once. And when we say shock, it's like a boom, and you just feel it. And then what it is you do that once, there's a beeping. And when they get close, they hear the beeping. And so it's, to me, people who say electric fences are cruel are just wrong. I mean, that's not.
I think used appropriately,
if you train it and appropriately. Now, if you're sitting there zapping, or I've heard people that have had beagles that put these collars on that when they howl, automatically shock. Well, what's the point? That's what beagles do. You don't shock an animal when it howls.
Right, but in the city there are noise ordinances.
Oh, I know, so don't get a beagle in the city.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we've talked about researching what kind of dog might be best for your living arrangements, right?
Yes, this is true.
People just, you know, and now the Animal Rescue Corps has a bunch of animals that they brought in recently, in lots of puppies, lots of dogs that have been brought in from Louisiana, where the shelters there were just so overcrowded. And every other week it seems like Metro Animal Control is having we're waiving the fees for you to come adopt. Yeah. And the signal on that is people still are not getting their animals spayed and neutered.
Correct.
It's just mind-boggling. Why? Why? Come on, Allison, why?
I cannot answer the question. I don't know.
I mean, is it cost?
It can't be cost. I think it's a mentality. I think in the South, we all grew up with grandparents who had dogs. They lived in the backyard, they ate the scraps, they did whatever they wanted to, and their life expectancy was like a nanosecond because there were so many things out there. So they bred, but they were dying so rapidly from whether it be disease or injury or predation that you really only usually had 3 or 4 dogs.
Right.
And so I think it has just been a societal thing. I also think, you know, we collect these strays and ship them up north.
That's exactly right.
Well, then why doesn't the north have strays?
Yeah.
I have a theory.
Okay.
So it gets really cold in the north. I don't think strays survive the winter. I think they all just die. I mean, there's large, homeless camps in Southern California. The southern parts of the United States, more so than there are in the north in the winter because of the cold. So I don't think, I think that the north also has smaller areas and confines, and they don't have rural areas where there are still dogs just kind of roaming, and so that's part of it. But I also think that they just don't have a stray population at all.
You're right, and as a result, they're glad to take these dogs, which are then shipped up there already in placements, and they all go to great homes.
They
up there.
do.
They really
People are waiting for the truck to get there for their dog that they've never seen before. Because they don't have. There's not dogs in shelters up there, because they're all adopted, and there's just not a stray population. And then people don't give up their dogs up there like they do here, which is another societal thing, and I don't understand why it is so different in the South versus the north. And I can't speak for the West or the Midwest because I'm not as familiar with those areas.
Yeah, I've looked around, and it is, I agree with your theory down here. It's a little bit different here. Now, this can happen anywhere. I mean, the woman who brought the dog into the shelter because she had bought a new living room set, and the dog's coat did not match with the new color of the living room set.
Correct.
So she wanted to give up the dog because it didn't match the couch. That steams you, doesn't it? Steams me, too. Who on earth? What kind of human vile creature is that? All right, anyone who would do that is a vile creature. Yeah, that's what I'm calling this woman.
Yes.
Let's take a break. When we come back, the phone lines are open, 737-7587. We don't have to talk about vile creatures. Let's talk about great things like animals and the very latest in flea and tick control. She knows all of that. There's those pills out there that I have yet to try because we still had a supply.
Oh, yeah.
And once we're through that, we're going that route. But there's all kinds of questions that you may have about your pets. She could try tackling a question about a tarantula. Now, not that she's dealt with them herself.
I have fixed a tarantula.
Okay, she's fixed a tarantula. So tarantula questions.
He gives me no credit.
Poisonous snakes? No.
No.
Piranhas?
No.
No.
I have anesthetized an Oscar fish.
Oh, Oscars. Those are big, aggressive fish. Yeah, all right.
Now, when he's under anesthesia.
I hope he's all right.
I don't know. It was 20 years ago.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come back with your phone calls and more with our veterinarian, Allison Fields, right after this.